Hello, welcome to worshiptutorials.com. I am Bradford. Thank you for joining us today. We are teaching you how to play My Testimony by Elevation Worship. I really like this sound, first off, of the song. It's got like an Americana kind of vibe, rootsy kind of thing. Still got the synths as well, which is pretty prominent in a lot of the style of music that we play. And so, fun song. I love the declaration of what Jesus has done in our lives as believers, coming together, declaring that we have gone from death to life because of what Jesus has done. And so for me as a lead guitar player, when I'm playing this song, it's just fun to play. Even if I'm not singing it, I'm still singing it in my heart. I still love the vibe of the song as well. Typically how this goes is we upload the playthrough video first, and that's not just to show you a patch we have available. It does do that. That's what we do with those videos. Make a patch available and play through. But a lot of people, some of you may find that that's all you would like to do. You may want to hear how a guitarist takes 5 guitar tracks and plays it as one, and that's kind of the approach we do. So the link will be in the description for that. The link to grab the patch for the Helix unit, at least as of the recording of this video, we have it for the Helix. We'll make it for other units soon. But in that video, we use this guitar and this patch. This is an Epiphone Les Paul that we had modded by 920D and loaded with Lambertones Cremas. Sounds so good. It's a reminiscent of a PAF style pickup. A lot more clarity though, and it's low output. So great sound. Running that into the Helix using our My Testimony Helix patch. So for this one, we're using the humbucker setting that we have. And it's like it's our match. It's based off of the amp sounds are our matchless JMP. But then we go and we make the effects line up with what you would need for this song. So as always, I do my absolute best to point you to shapes, methods, scales, those kind of things. So if you are playing this song in a different key than B, which is what the song is originally in, you should be able to easily move these parts for the most part. There's a couple things. During the chorus, I think that we should play chords later on in the song, and so you obviously can't play a big E chord if you're not playing it in B, because that'd be the wrong chord in that instance. But as we go through the song, I will identify what I'm using, and so you can shift it pretty easily. The song starts kind of just like a little band. It's a live version, right? So the band just kind of swells. 4 on the floor kick, acoustics carrying it, driving it. You get to sit out for the first little bit. Very important that you allow for that space. Now, your worship leader may call for something else. A lot of times when I play this song, the last 2 times I've done it were actually, well, the last 2 times were the first 2 times. We just felt like it needed a little more energy, so I kind of kept going, and I had a dotted eighth delay, which I would recommend you doing for this. This BPM is 97 BPM, so I have a dotted eighth delay. So when you tap it, right, you get the in-between stuff. So what I did do personally was I would kind of play this B chord, and then it's like a B sus, or a B, or B over E, which is very reminiscent of a B sus, so. So you could do that, or you could hit this B chord, just the top half, and then hammer on, like this. So basically, if you're gonna play an A chord, for example, you use one finger, you're gonna bar the 2nd fret, you're gonna bar down on the D, the G, and the B. You can do that same thing if you just slide 2 frets up. That's the top half of a B chord. And then you're gonna hammer on from the 4th fret to the 5th fret on the B string, and that'll give you like a sus sound. But if you're also barring, if you're barring all those 4 strings, the D, G, B, and the E, that's not a bad sound in and of itself there either. But when you add that E note on the B string, the 5th fret, now you kind of have like the top part of a D shape. So that's an E triad right there. Basically, it's basically an E chord. Here's a D chord, same shape. You know, if you play it like this, D chord. If you play it like this, D chord. Here it's an E. So I would play back and forth. Now, I didn't do that in the playthrough. I do it live depending on the vibe. Just an option you have because that's what's happening. But The thing you will play is, I don't know if you consider it the second verse or the second half of the first verse. Real simple. I've done a video on this before talking about a simple way to add some movement. A simple way to kind of make something sound different without playing full chords. You don't want to just come in right away with playing chords. I would say on a song like this, especially if they're only electric, save those chords for the chorus. And even then, you're not going to strum. When you get to the chords, you're going to play less than what you're about to play right now. So what we're going to do is play a 1. In this case, it's a B. So it'll be on the 4th fret on the G string. We're going to kind of palm mute with our right hand a little bit, but we're going to do this rhythm. You can hammer on to the 6th fret like I did. I did a little stuff in the playthrough just to kind of keep it interesting, but it's basically just this kind of vibe. Do what you want. What I did there was I went from a B note to an A sharp. I like doing that a lot. It's the 7, so it's a leading tone. So when you hear that, and your ear knows that it wants to hear a B, it leans into the da. So I do that sound a lot. That tension is just so good. So you do this. Which at that point you're hitting an F sharp, but which is the 4th fret on the D string. Gives a little bit of movement, makes it not quite as boring. So that whole idea, that whole technique is something that you can utilize in any song. You can hold down that 1, that B for this song. The 1 of any song you're playing. The way I think about it is I'm using the G sharp minor pentatonic. There's the B. I do that all the time. If a song needs a little something, maybe there's no guitars in it initially at that point of the song, or maybe we're changing up the vibe or whatever. The whole idea is just holding on to the 1. You really can't go wrong. You may want to move it around to follow the chord progression depending on how the song feels and all. But in this case, just hold it down. So for this song, a lot of the parts, I think, since there's 5 of them, there's a lot of things that are just great, straightforward guitar parts that are more about serving the song. The turn, riff, da-na-na-na, that part. That is important, I think. Everything else, the parts that you hear, if you listen to the multi-track, if you use rehearsal mix, they sound great. And these guys know how to serve the song. That kind of seems like a buzz phrase, serve the song. But in this instance, the guitar parts with everything else really drive you to the lyrics of the song. The vibe of the song is not one where I feel like the guitars are up front and center, except for the turns. And so when we get to that part, I think that's the most important part. The rest of the song, I think it's about playing the thing that fits the mood and the style that your band is going for, because you can do a lot of different things. So what happens after that first verse? It goes into like I wouldn't really say broken down chorus. It's still that like 4 on the floor vibe. It's not a lot happening yet. The band kicks in after the chorus. So hit a B all the way up here, or hit one just like this. Either way, these are important shapes. We've taught them before. This up here, you could go, if you're on the 12th fret on the B string, it's a D shape. Okay, so that's a B. Anytime you are playing a D shape, whatever note you were on the B string, that's the triad. So this is a D, E, G, A, B. You could, if you want, what I did in the playthrough is I just hit the 2 strings, I just hit the G and the B. That's all I did. I didn't think it needed more. Also, it was a little easier to get to. You may really just want to hit diamonds. I just opt to hit this triad. Grace rewrote my story. I'm dead. Okay? So this little part here is just spelling out, in essence, a C sharp minor chord and a B chord. Now, we're not on a C sharp minor, and we're not on a B chord in those moments, but these shapes are things you can use for other methods as well. The stand is an example. these parts, these things, I'm really bad at this, but I'm like 90% sure they're called sixths. Basically what you're doing is just pulling out the shape of the chord, put the shape of the chord down. For this example, we're gonna do this so we can apply this. We're gonna use a D shape. We're not playing a D in the key of B, but we're gonna use it this way so we can apply it, all right? And make you think. So we play a D bar chord like this, or a D minor chord like this. So those two shapes of bar chords. Regardless of what you're going for, if you're going for a major, you're gonna be on the same fret. And in this case, for the D chord, it's on the 7th fret of the D and the B string. If you're going for a minor, you're 1 fret apart. So it'll be the 7th fret of the D and the 6th fret of the G. So that's a minor. So in this case, those notes are not being played over a C sharp minor and a B chord, but that's the thing you hear. So let's apply that, okay? We're using a C sharp minor shape up here, way up here. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right, 16th fret, play a C sharp minor. And then slide down to the 14th fret to get your B shape. If that is easier for you to play the whole chord, but only pick the 2 notes you need, do it. But I like to get the slide, which is really prominent, at least in the first chorus. There's another guitar doing that in the other choruses, but I would say you should play rhythm. Now, if you're not going to play rhythm, if you're having 2 guitars and the other guy's playing rhythm, you're gonna play this sound later on with the triad. With more drive, some delay, bigger verb, whatever. You're gonna be on the 18th fret on the D string and the 17th fret on the B string. But slide in from the 16th to the 18th. Okay, and then slide from the 18th to the 16th. So, 18 and 17 on the D and the B, respectively. And then slide to both on the 16 on the D and the B, respectively. So, here's your 2 notes. It's a B and an F sharp. So you just hit this. The little 2 notes here is on the 12th fret on the B string and on the 11th fret on the G string. That's your part. So we'll do it like this. Then we kick in to the turn. This is fun. For this part of the turn, you're gonna want an octave effect if you can. That's what I hear. It kind of sounds like they're playing octaves and using an octave pedal, but especially the fact that if you're the only electric guitar, I think that's just one more thing to worry about. And I think it's a lot easier and sounds just as good just using an octave pedal, some drive, delay, verb, all of that. So let's talk about that first part of the riff. The second half is different, reminiscent, but different. So we're gonna play, again, key of B. We're gonna be situating this inside of our G sharp minor pentatonic shape. So we're gonna start this on the 6th fret of the G string, then go to the 4th fret on the B, 4th fret on the D, 6th fret on the D. First half of the riff, all right? So like this. Then we're gonna hit the 4th fret on the G to the 6th fret on the G. 4th fret on the D, 6th fret on the A. So let's add the effects so you can get the vibe, because the delay is important, the octave is important, the drive is obviously important. All right, so there you go. That's the turn. During the turn, if you have a second guitar, or maybe you don't feel that that's important and you want the big driving sound of having chords, it's just... So after that, you're going into the second verse. Basically, what you're going to come in with is when they hit that 6 to the 4 progression. At that point, what you're going to do is basically you're going to root down on your second fret on your A string, so that's a B note. And you're going to hit a G sharp, which is the fourth fret on the E string. And then open up and play that open E string. Now, if you listen to the track, you're going to hear that he actually like slides up and you hear a higher note. It would make sense that the chances are they're using a capo for this guitar part. Now, again, like I've said, it's not completely necessary to play all these parts to a T. Some songs I really feel that they're super important. This song, it sounds like there's a lot of different things that add a lot of great texture. And again, they serve the song. I like this part, and that's why I'm playing it. So then when you kick in and you play, remember, anchor down, second fret of your A string to get that B note. You're going to hit a G sharp and then an E. So 4 and then 0. And then G sharp, F sharp, E. So 4, 2, 0. So I'll show you. It sounds like this. Again. The next part is our chorus. At this point is when I would start introducing chords personally. This same chord progression, though, could be used for the first chorus if you have a second guitar and they're able to play that in the first chorus. That gives it a little quieter, not quite as intense, not quite as big the first time, and then you play this here. If you're only electric, then adding the chords this time will kind of still help with that dynamic. You're going to play a B, then a G sharp minor, and then an E. I'm going to show you the way I play them. Now, the extensions, specific extensions, and like specific chord names are not something I know, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a B power chord, a B5 technically. It's like a B, it's an F sharp, it's a B. That's it. I'm going to do that with some overdrive. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm keeping my pinky here. It's a B5. It's a power chord. I'm sure you all have learned these at the start of playing guitar. But the thing about a B5 is there's no note in it, or a 5 chord, period. There's no note in it that defines whether it's major or minor. So you could use this as a B minor in a different key. But in this case, it serves for our B. So we'll keep, after we do that, just for those who need it, it's the second fret on the A string, fourth fret on the D and the G. There you go. We'll keep these two fingers locked in here and use our second finger to hit the fourth fret on the E string, a G sharp. So we have a G sharp minor. Now, side note, bonus, chord voicing you can use at any spot on the neck. You're muting the A string when you do that. If you're only playing those 3 strings, you get a minor chord. It's real nice. The extension, again, eludes me, but this is an F minor, F sharp minor, G minor, A minor, E minor, B minor. You can do that. If you're like a more full-fledged chord, wrap this finger here covering the 4 strings. Those top 4 strings, you're going to mute the A string, and you can use your thumb to get the E string all on the same fret. That's a G sharp minor. You could also do the same thing by using your third finger to bar the top 4 strings, and again, making sure that A string is muted, using your second finger to get that E string. G sharp minor. I use this shape all the time. Depending on how I'm set up, I'll grab a B minor like this, or I'll grab it like this, and I can switch to a pentatonic. I can grab a pentatonic riff if I really want one. So you can do the same thing here. To get you a nice riff for the song. Either way, a B string, a B chord, and then an E chord. Now this is like a fat E chord. This sounds so good. I use it all the time. In this instance, what you're using is your first finger to bar the second fret for the A and the D string. That's important. And then your pinky is still locked down on the G string on the 4th fret. So you have a B, an E, and a B. And you're going to hit the low E note at least. So if you hit those 4 notes, 4 strings, sounds fine. But then you still have a B and an E. So because like your only notes in this chord are B's and E's, Sounds so good. I love it. It's my favorite way to play an E. I'll use it at any point. An E is necessary, but put it together for the chorus of the song. We'll go back to the turn, break down into the bridge. This one's fun. Again, this is another instance of a couple different guitars happening, and what I opted to do was to go back to our D shape, okay? And go up here, again, our D shape here, in this instance, is going to be rooted on the B string on the 12th fret, so that gives us a B note. Let's go to the neck pickup, because that's what I was using. And then I'm gonna use my first finger to bar down. Now you are barring the top 3 strings, the G, B, and the E. But you don't want that. You wanna make sure you're using your second finger to bar the 12th fret of the B. All right, so with a little bit of dotted eighth, it's not super prominent. I'm gonna just... All I'm doing there is the dotted eighth is what's providing the rhythmic action. Now my right hand's still doing stuff, but the dotted eighth is what's really making it feel good. You're just bouncing up to the 14th fret on the B string. And then as it gets a little bigger, about halfway through, I really want to continue driving it. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to hit that B shape. What I hear after that, in that chord, in that part of the song, the chords I hear, it's like, it sounds like it's an E, also sounds like it could be a B suspended, but it also kind of sounds like it's a B over E, which when you suspend a B, you're adding an E to it. So either way, what I like to do is to play this B shape we talked about earlier, not playing the low E, and then just keep playing that same shape and hitting the low E string. Sounds really big, really fat. And so whether or not the rest of the band is doing it or not is not super important, because if you're basically still playing a suspended B, you're just putting, it's like an inverted suspended B, B suspended. You could do a B and an E. Then there's like a little tag. At that point, when it tags, it's kind of like an extra section coming out of the bridge before it breaks down into the chorus. I may change my rhythm up. Just to kind of move it along, because now the vocals are no longer there, and I just want to add a little something to make the song feel a little bit better. So there's that. Break down the chorus. Now, coming out of that breakdown, everybody jumps back in. We got a couple different alternate progressions, which I think add a lot. They make the song a little special. They give it some fun. You gotta pay attention though. So basically in this chorus, well, in all the choruses, you're playing that progression, the B, G sharp minor, E, the 1, the 6, the 4, 4 times for one chorus. In this instance, you sit out for the first 2. The third one, you're kind of building. So what you heard me do there was, instead of playing just a B, I did a B over F sharp. So it's like you're putting the 5 in the bass. Now, as the guitarist, you don't have to do that if your bass player is making sure they hit it, because that's the important part. If you're doing it and the bass player isn't, it's not going to translate quite as well. I would say it'd be great if your bass player did it, and it'd be great if you did it too. So if we go back to that shape that we've been talking about in this video, it's just a B5 basically. And you just switch your fingers. See, if you look how my finger's sitting right now, it's not even on the E string. Then I resituate it so it grabs that E string on the same fret. So it just puts the 5 of the chord in the bass. Sounds fat, but you're building on it. It adds some tension. Part of, or as a rise, really, it's not really tension. Part of this kind of vibe is in Build My Life towards the end, the song's in the key of G, and there are a couple spots where you hit a G over D instead of just a G. And I love it so much. So, top of the next chorus. So the first part of that chorus, now it's like the opposite of what we just did. It's very odd, I know, I said this. But this time you're gonna play the progression once. Remember, it happens 4 times. You're gonna play it once. And the second time, you're gonna go, instead of to a G sharp minor, you're gonna go to a C sharp minor. And then an E over G sharp, and then back to a B. So for a C sharp minor, I play a C sharp minor 7. Sometimes that 7 is not good. Sometimes it doesn't work. But in this case, it works just fine. So if you need to know how to do that, imagine an A minor chord. And then we're using our first finger is acting like a capo. It's the cage, however you want to look at it. Slide this first finger up to the 4th fret, and you're going to make sure you're barring, you're going to have to, you're barring all 5 strings. You're barring 5 strings, not the low E. So you can do that. And then you're going to add your second finger to the 5th fret of the B string and your third finger to the 6th fret of the D string. There you go. Next is the E over G sharp. So this one's a weird one. You can do it one of 2 ways. I used to do it like this. Full on E and play a G sharp with my pinky in the 4th fret. It's not even worth it anymore. What I do is, borrowing the same kind of idea for the way I do that E that I showed you. Use your first finger to bar the 2nd fret of the A and the D. And then I put my pinky in the same spot. So basically it is the same chord to a certain extent. I put my pinky on the 4th fret of the G string, and then I use my third finger to get that G sharp, the 4th fret, on E string. So the guitar's a little bit out of tune, which is fine because I want you to hear, you can hear the notes actually better because it's not so perfect that you can't hear them divided. So here it is again. So that whole thing together is. Okay, so it's just in those 2 last choruses, add something a little different. The tracks are going to have that in them if you're using the tracks. You don't need to do those inversions. You don't need to do those alternate chords. The song will still sound fine without them. I think what's great about it is it kind of gives them a lift. It kind of gives it something a little different on the back end of the song. You've sung the chorus a handful of times. It's nice. If you're trying to, you and your team are just trying to execute the song for the first time and that's messing with you, which is understandable. The first time me and the team I'm on did it, it kind of threw us all for a loop because the timing's kind of bizarre and we were like so locked in. Like, I mean, like the very first time the whole band played it, and then we had to do it 2 more times and we felt like we had it. So if you aren't playing with tracks, maybe if you are playing with tracks, maybe it's not going to be that big a deal. If you got like, you know, bass guitars and piano and acoustic like all together, you don't necessarily have to do it. It's not like it changes the song, but I love it. I tell you to do it. I would encourage you to do it. Add some variety. Then we go back to the outro, the riff, the whole time that we have. It happens 3 times in the song. Cool little riff. There are some tweedly-dees, as I like to call them. They do some different stuff. It's not really prominent too much to me. I hear it. Basically, you're just... So that's it. There are some other guitar parts, but like I said, a lot of these parts to me seem to serve the song more than they exist to like be cool guitar parts. They're great. I love them. I really love straightforward guitar parts that add to the mix of a song and don't necessarily be like, I'm a guitar part, listen to me. The turn is great for that. There are other things in other songs that it's obvious it's a guitar part, and I love those too. Drop my pick. But sometimes it feels really good to play guitar parts, to play guitar in a song where it really is just adding to the energy and you're not having to focus quite as much on nailing things. during the choruses and the verses, I think you really get to just be there. You get to be a part of the song. And then the turn, you hit your lead part and you go back to being a part of the song. Sometimes if parts are so intricate and they're so intentional, you don't get to engage in the song as much until you really get it under your fingers. And so I love this song. I really think it would go really well with any church, declaring what Jesus has done for you. The biggest thing, of course, is that he's taken us from death to life. Like, the grace of Jesus has taken our story and rewritten it. That's the whole premise of the song. And we're just declaring that truth. And so I love that the simplicity of the gospel is, whether it was intentional or not, was showed and was reflected in the simplicity of the guitar parts. So that may be way deeper than intended, but hey, when we do these videos, we're trying to equip you as much as we can, the best we can. So as of the taping of this video, there is a patch for the Helix for the song. And so when you get it, you get some IRs that we've made. You get a humbucker single coil version. Any other versions of patches for other units that we have available, we'll put them in the description below as well. But thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you guys next time.